Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're taking a hard look at a roadmap to the future, one that's literally being engineered behind closed doors as we speak. We're going to be unpacking some wild insights from Daniel Kokotajlo. If you don't know the name, he was a professional AI forecaster at OpenAI. So we are digging into the raw data and those super secret internal conversations that are driving our immediate future. And I want to start by throwing this massive, honestly shocking date right out there. 2027. Now, according to Daniel's forecasts, which by the way are completely backed by the current insider consensus at the world's absolute top AI labs, this is the exact year we could see a world-altering shift, right? We're not talking about some slightly smarter chatbot to help you write emails or a better algorithm for your social media feed. No, we are talking about the literal arrival of superintelligence. So the crucial point is, we have to define what superintelligence actually means in this context. Industry insiders are not talking about software that just passes the bar exam. They are defining an AI that is fundamentally better, faster, and cheaper than the absolute best humans at literally everything. And yes, that includes operating physical robots out in the real world. Just take a second and think about that scale. It's almost hard to wrap your head around, right? But this is the terrifyingly massive reality that these top labs are actively trying to build right now. All right, so here is our step-by-step roadmap for today's explainer, just to keep us on track. First, the 2027 Superintelligence Forecast. Second, inside the AI arms race. Third, extinction, oligarchs, and jobs. Fourth, the $2 million stand. And finally, the path to superintelligence. Let's get right into it. Chapter 1. The 2027 Superintelligence Forecast. Let's move to and see how this builds. Remember, Daniel's literal day-to-day job at OpenAI was to track and forecast the exact trajectory of AI. Originally, his detailed internal paper predicted superintelligence by 2027. Now, he did actually shift this to a slightly more conservative 2030 later on, but here is the really unsettling part. Current insiders at both OpenAI and Anthropic are telling him that 2030 is way slow. The internal consensus has snapped right back to 2027 or 2028. To really understand why these timelines are shrinking so violently, just look at Anthropic. Last year, they generated roughly $1 billion. Okay, this year, they're on track for $60 billion. That's a 60x leap. And the thing is, even if this staggering growth rate slows down, the sheer pace of this trend puts them on track to literally eclipse the entire global economy by 2030. That is just bonkers. Moving on to Chapter 2, Inside the AI Arms Race. So, with growth metrics totally defying historical precedent, we're seeing a stark juxtaposition emerge between what these companies say and what they do. Publicly, the narrative is all about pausing development to ensure safety, acting for the good of humanity. But internally, well, Daniel observed pure, unadulterated power-seeking behavior. He noted that internal emails dating as far back as 2017 reveal executives were literally racing out of sheer fear that competitors, like Google's Denis Hassabis, for example, would achieve superintelligence first and just become global dictators. And this brilliantly illustrates the mindset perfectly. Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei famously called their end goal a country of geniuses in a data center. But Daniel actually corrected this to something far more chilling. He called it an army of geniuses. Because look, these aren't diverse, independent, free-thinking minds. They are millions of exact copies of a single model, completely owned by one corporation and designed to flawlessly follow orders. Chapter 3, Extinction, Oligarchs, and Jobs. When you're building a private, super intelligent army, the global stakes are unfathomably high. Dan methodically lists out these chilling risks. First up, a complete loss of human control over the AI. The scary open secret in the industry right now is that making an AI both super intelligent and virtuous is a totally unsolved problem. Labs are basically just crossing their fingers and hoping they figure it out. Second, you have extreme concentration of power, essentially turning tech CEOs into literal oligarchs. Third, whichever nation integrates this tech into their military first gains massive hard power, which absolutely risks World War II-level geopolitical conflict. And fourth, the complete near-universal automation of the global workforce. I actually want to pivot right to you for a second on that last point, because this makes it very personal. This isn't just about, taxi drivers or entry-level coders getting replaced. Daniel warns that almost everyone, and I mean everyone, should expect their job to be automated. Household incomes across the entire board are at severe risk here. The only real exceptions might be roles that, for very strict legal or regulatory reasons, absolutely require a physical human signature or presence. Everything else, it's on the table.
Chapter 4. The $2 million stand.
Now, what's really interesting about this part of the story is the human element. Faced with this staggering reality, Daniel found the internal corporate rationalization. This whole idea of we have to race forward because we're the good guys, it was just too much for him to bear. So in 2024, he resigned. But walking away came with a massive, mind-blowing cost. $2 million. That was roughly 80% of his entire net worth, tied up invested OpenAI equity.
Here's where it gets crazy. To keep that money, OpenAI handed him exit paperwork containing a painfully strict non-disparagement and secrecy clause. It was essentially a permanent gag order, preventing him from ever criticizing the company or warning the public about those exact risks he observed. Think about the shocking hypocrisy there. An organization that was literally founded as a nonprofit for the benefit of all humanity, acting exactly like a ruthless normal tech company, trying to hold a fortune hostage just to silence a departing employee. Daniel and his wife consulted lawyers for a whole month, and ultimately, purely on principle, he refused to sign.
But taking that principled stand, it sparked an absolute firestorm. When the internet caught wind of this, it became a massive scandal that triggered a genuine internal rebellion at OpenAI. Employees started flooding internal Slack channels, demanding answers from leadership about why their vested equity could be weaponized against them like this. The pressure got so incredibly intense that the company was forced to backtrack entirely. They dropped the aggressive clauses, they let Daniel keep his equity, and CEO Sam Altman even publicly claimed he was super embarrassed and had no idea it was even happening, which, for the record, is a claim Daniel heavily doubts.
Chapter 5. The Path to Superintelligence.
So, having secured his freedom to actually speak out, Daniel has been incredibly clear about the exact step-by-step technological roadmap these AI labs are currently executing to hit that 2027 deadline. And this three-step sequence is both brilliant and totally terrifying. Step 1, which they are laser-focused on today, is to fully automate coding. Because if AI can autonomously write and edit its own code, progress just accelerates exponentially. Step 2 is to automate the entire AI research process. That means the AI comes up with the ideas, it runs the experiments, and it analyzes the data. OpenAI and Anthropic are literally trying to automate themselves out of existence. They want human employees completely out of the loop. Why? Because once you hit step 3, autonomous, recursive self-improvement, you essentially have a super-powered digital army churning 24/7, building endlessly smarter versions of itself without any human intervention whatsoever. And that leaves us with one incredibly vital, provocative question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. If these tech giants successfully execute this roadmap, and if they actually build this autonomous, self-improving army of superintelligence by 2027, who will actually control it? Will it be the public, the government, a handful of Silicon Valley oligarchs? Or, in the end, will it simply control itself? Think about the immense concentration of power we've just explored. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I absolutely encourage you to keep questioning and exploring this rapidly approaching future.